Time now to get the views of our media and political experts, Democratic State Representative Brenda Gilmore and her daily on 1510 WLAC. Syndicated talk show host Steve Gill, just back from Washington, D.C. Nice to see you both.
Thank you.
Debates are over with. We're in the final stretch. Governor Romney leading nationally. On the delegate count, the president probably a little bit ahead. In the swing states, it's really tight. What's going to decide this race?
Well, I think that the president is doing very well. We did see Governor Romney take a bounce on that first debate. The second one, I think the president did extremely well, as he did on the last one. And I'm not real sure. I hear the media experts talk about momentum, but I just don't see that momentum growing with Governor Romney. I think he's about plateaued out, and I think the president's going to end up doing okay. I think he's going to squeak by on the popular vote, and he's going to do very, very well on the electoral vote.
I think you are seeing momentum with Governor Romney at this point, and you're seeing that as you've seen some of these battleground states kind of move off the list. North Carolina, a state that the president carried only by about 10,000 votes last time. Both Governor Romney and the president pretty much pulled their resources out of North Carolina. Florida and Virginia also look like they've moved towards the Romney column, which again gets us back to the states we've talked about all along: Ohio, Nevada, New Hampshire. The interesting thing is Wisconsin and maybe Pennsylvania have kind of moved into some contention. Definitely Wisconsin, a state that the president carried by more than double digits 4 years ago. And that's the momentum, I think, that you see. States that the president carried handily, Virginia, for example, double digits, now probably moving into the Romney column. What it's going to come down to is literally hand-to-hand fighting in southwest Ohio, in the Cincinnati area. Reno is an area in Nevada that's getting a lot of attention. You're seeing the president go into Pennsylvania, into Wisconsin. It literally is going to come down to maybe a handful of precincts.
Next week, some important economic numbers come out. Could be momentum for the president, could be momentum for Mitt Romney. How important will these last-minute numbers be 3 or 4 days before Election Day?
I think the jobs figures are already pretty much calculated into people's assessment. You know, we saw the numbers last month that nobody really believes. We didn't see a 0.3% drop in the unemployment rate in reality. Nobody's feeling that in the economy. I think people know the economy is in the doldrums and is still where it has been. And the president trotting out some new plan 2 weeks ago, rather than talking about his record for the last 4 years, says everything about a president that can't run on what he's done and has to hope to talk about what he might do with another 4 years.
I think everything is moving in the right direction. We heard just in the last couple of days that the GPD has increased around 2%. They were expecting it to be around 1.7. I think most of us will agree that it could be more, that it could be more vigorous, but everything is headed in the right direction. Job claims are down, so I expect that the unemployment will continue to go down. And I just think it's very ironic that when we see the unemployment claims come down, that Republicans say that it has to be some funny business, but when it was going up, they were ready to jump on the president. So.
Well, I think it's because you look at the numbers. Most of the job gains were part-time jobs because people can't find full-time work. Just this week, another 370,000 people filed new unemployment claims. That's enough to fill the Titan Stadium 6 times. I don't think that's an economy that's on the move.
Some controversial abortion statements made by some Republican congressional office holders. Is this hurting Mitt Romney in that the discussion goes back to abortion? Is it an issue that's going to go away quickly? Does it help the president?
Well, I think what hurts Governor Romney is the fact that he changes his position so much and that he's known as a flip-flopper. I think it comes down to a trust issue. Is can we trust him to keep his word? Before, when he was governor, he said that he would not be opposed to abortion in the case of the mother's health or incest. Then we saw him when he was campaigning during the primary that he said he was severely conservative and he was opposed to it. And then just a few weeks ago, we've heard that he again has moved back center where he said that there would be some exceptions. So I think the question that most Americans will have to ask is, if he wins, can we trust him to keep his word? And I think the answer comes up no each time.
I think that Brenda's exactly right. Trust is the major issue as we head into the final week of this campaign. The problem is we have a president of the United States who literally sat idly by while he watched an American ambassador get killed, 2 other Navy SEALs killed, watch an embassy staffer killed. They literally watched and did nothing as these folks were killed. Then, knowing that it was a terrorist attack, they came out and lied about it for 2 weeks. This is a matter of trust. And the president has completely betrayed the American people in the whole Benghazi scandal, and the fact that the media is not paying enough attention to the death of 4 Americans while the U.S. military, the White House, and our intelligence community sat idly by, I think is a complete betrayal of trust.
Does it hurt the president? There seems to to be two sides, two stories to the Benghazi issue and what the president did at the time.
I agree, and I think that any time that something of this magnitude happens, that there is always going to be some fuzzy communication coming out. I wish it could have come out clearer, but the next day after this incident happened in Libya, we did hear the president come out and said that it was clearly a terrorist attack. So I don't think that we can say that the president has not kept his word, and I think that he feels insulted that people would even think that he would try to cover it up.
I would hope people would go to the transcript, because what Brenda said is simply not true. The president didn't say it was clearly a terrorist attack. In fact, 2 weeks later to the United Nations, to The View, he was denying it was a terrorist attack. He sent out his UN ambassador, Susan Rice, after that day to deny it was a terrorist attack, and has still been telling the mother of one of these deceased kids, we're going to get the maker of that movie. It was a lie from the get-go, and they knew better. 4 Americans died, and they didn't care enough to do anything about it.
He said there was an act of terror. He did not say it was a terrorist attack. Is that a distinction? Does that make a difference?
Well, I think what Americans hear is that the president understands that he wants to keep this country safe, and that he's done everything that he could to keep it safe. During the 4 years that he has been president, we have seen him take down almost every terrorist around the country, including bin Laden. So we have a lot to thank this president and his administration for. That's what comes across to me as clearly as how safe we are.
If the president really thought Benghazi was a terror attack, then it is even more atrocious that he immediately went to a fundraiser in Nevada and a political event in Colorado. If he knew 4 Americans were dead because of terrorism and he dashed off to a party, that's even more despicable.
Steve Gill, Brenda Gilmore, appreciate your time and your insights. Stay with us. This week continues in a moment.